We're live.
Here we go. Welcome to Out of the Parx with Jon Marks. I am your co-host, Sam Stafford, alongside, of course, Jon Marks, formerly of Marks and Reese on WIP Afternoons, and then the one, the only, Maniac Malloy to my left right here. And every single Wednesday, we're going to be meeting with you guys. We're going to talk Phillies. We're going to talk MLB. We're going to get some questions from you guys and give you some picks. So tune in there. But guys, we announced the show yesterday. And when we did the announcement, we were talking Bryce Harper, this team, they weren't looking so hot. And we were like, maybe the announcement of us will give this team some oomph. And man, did it work. Bryce Harper, 3 for 4 last night, 3 home runs, 1 including a grand slam. What do you guys think about that?
I'll take the credit for it, guys. I think we said it yesterday. What is our record going to be coming off the game the night before? We're 1-0. So
1-0.
I'll take it. And was there ever a doubt Bryce Harper 0-11? They had to fix the railing and put it higher so he didn't injure himself. And he comes out, home run. That third home run that he had, bases loaded, he works the count. He swings at a ball 3-1. I know Maniac Malloy was angry at him.
I was
swinging at that pitch. But for whatever reason, I don't ever remember an athlete in this city rising to the occasion in moments like that. And he did it again last night. Was there ever a doubt? Working in the media for so long, you kind of get hardened, and getting older, you kind of get hardened to being a fan where you don't really like the players as much as maybe you used to. I love Bryce Harper. I'm totally different. I'm like a kid when it comes to Bryce Harper.
You got a little man crush on him, a little man crush.
I love Bryce Harper. He's amazing, and he did it again last night. And they needed it too.
They needed it. And Pinto, he rolled up in the Pinto on in the 4th inning. Unbelievable, this guy. I mean, maybe he can be a little boost to the bullpen. I mean, I hope he's probably going back to Rochester this afternoon, but we'll see. Let's see if we can go 1-0 last night to start after the announcement. And now, first show, we got to get a win this afternoon.
Well, so you talked about that, Pat, you mentioned the bullpen. So up until this point, last night excluded, has been pretty rough for this team. And it's actually very ironic because MLB Network made them their #1 ranked bullpen going into this season, which I think all of us were kind of like, don't jinx us, please don't say that. And it seems like it actually happened.
Yeah. And believe me, they needed it last night. And Ricardo Pinto, he came in the game and I'm like, why do I remember him? Was he a Philly at one point? And I Googled it. It's like, yeah, that's right. He was in their farm system. He pitched for him a couple times. You see, this is one of these storylines already that he was in Korea. He was in Japan. He was in the Mexican League. He hasn't pitched in the major since 2019. He arrives in the 5th inning, and he has a 4-inning save. I mean, exactly how we drew it up to get their second win of the season last night. But the bullpen, to your point, Sam, the bullpen is going to have to step it up. And Alvarado, Dominguez again, kind of starting the season. I was worried they were going to put him in last night, but then Bryce hit the home run and kind of gave him some breathing room. But the bullpen's always going to be a concern to me.
I need to see. I am a huge fan of Gregory Soto. I really am. I believe in this guy. I don't think that he was used properly last year. I think that Craig Kimbrell won that job, and he won it fair and square. He took the role, and he was doing pretty well in the role until he didn't.
Right. Yeah,
but I want to see what Greg Soto can do as that lefty fireballer. Him and Alvarado, I mean, I think like last year coming into the season, they accounted for like 90% of fastballs over 100 miles an hour. I mean, with those two dudes, 7th, 8th, 9th inning, somewhere along in there, that should be locked down, no problems. We need to get Gregory Soto locked into a role right early, because last year he couldn't find his role, and I don't think he ever ended up being used properly. And he's off to a pretty good start so far, Gregory is, Mr. Soto. So we'll see if he can kind of fit in where he's supposed to when they gave him that big contract.
Yeah, and also with bullpens, I remember Pat Gillick used to talk about this, where sometimes relievers can be so year to year. You think about Alvarado. He was in AAA a couple years ago during the season, and then he became one of the best relievers in the league. And the same thing with Soto. This could be the year where Soto is unhittable, and they're going to need it. And to your point about the roles, you never really knew what he was last year, right? Like he was never used really late in games. And when he was used, he was kind of erratic. So this could be one of these year-to-year things where Soto becomes the guy that maybe Alvarado was a couple years ago. They're going to need him.
And with the roles, you see a closer come in a non-save situation, and it seems like they don't have the same stuff. They don't have the same concentration. I don't know what it is. They don't perform as well. It's like kind of the same thing. That guy was the closer for the Tigers for a number of years, and then he comes to the Phillies and he's pitching in the 5th, 6th inning. I think that's a lot to adjust to. So hopefully he can get into a role as a setup man more towards the end of the game and make a difference for the team.
Well, and we also mentioned the explosiveness that Pinto kind of gave this bullpen last night. And I think that's one important piece to this bullpen, because they do on paper have a good lineup out there to come out and help.
Boy, Ellie De La Cruz looked pretty bad though last night, didn't he? And he struck out 3 times the night before. What's going on with him?
Well, that could be the weather for Ellie right there.
The weather guy.
I mean, it
Big
is
weather
one of the
guy.
things. It is one of the things that I have been like, maybe this team will get better when it warms up, But Bryce obviously proved us wrong, but he did have some extra layers last night, so maybe that's what helped him there.
Now, with the superstition attached to baseball, does he have to wear the shiesty mask now today and the rest of the year until he?
Well, it's really cold out still, so I would, and rainy if they get the game in today. So I would assume he's going to wear it again today. But to your point, Maniac Malloy, I don't know if in July if we're going to see him wearing that. But if he's hitting 3 home runs every night, then maybe he should wear that.
He could wear whatever
time
he wants if he's going to do that.
Yeah, but looking at this bullpen, so everybody coming out is going to have to play their part, and that's something that hurt them last year with injuries, and then guys, like you said, not carrying their weight that they were expected to going into it. Connor Brogdon, how long do you think that this guy stays on the team?
Well, he's gone. He's gone. Pinto's in.
Pinto, but
he got DFA'd.
So, oh, wow.
Yeah, he's gone. See ya. He gone.
Wow, I missed that. Okay, so I thought Pinto would go back down and then Brogdon might get another chance here and there. But DFA'd.
I'm sure that's not the last we've seen. Well, he's DFA'd, so.
But and I mean that means that he can, if nobody claims him, he can accept being sent to the minors, and he's just not on the 40-man roster. It's a shame because Brogdon showed so much promise 2 years ago, and then like a lot of relievers, you just lose your control. And it was sad watching him pitch the other day. It really was. I mean, you could just tell he had no shot. And I mean, that was it. That was it for him. So at this point with this team, and you're already seeing this, they're not giving guys like Brogdon a lot of rope to where they can figure it out early in the season. You got to win these games, right? Yeah. So I'm not freaking out because they're 2-3 or anything like that just yet, but you can't afford to have Brogdon in there. They need these relievers to pitch and to come in and throw strikes at least.
Now moving over to the other pitching staff, the starting rotation has performed beautifully to this point besides Aaron Nola. How concerned should we be on that one?
Only 6.9 more years, right, John?
6.9, yes.
9.
Only 6.9 more years of Aaron.
I'm not concerned at all, because if you realize what Aaron Nola is, you're going to get these starts. I don't think we're going to see a lot of Aaron Nola that we saw where he's having a sub-3 ERA. I think really you're looking at a 3.5, 4 ERA guy. And here's the problem with it is if you're relying on him to be your number 2 starter, then he might be coming up short for you in a lot of these games. As he loses velocity and he doesn't have his command, and that's what plagued him in his first start. He didn't have his command. He becomes over-reliant on his off-speed stuff because he doesn't want to throw the fastball. Guys sit on it, boom. He's given up a ton of home runs. I still think he's a quality starter. I think he's more of a 3 than a 2.
Ugh.
But,
he's getting paid money.
No, well, I mean, he's making $25 a year. They space it out. But, I don't love the contract. But ultimately, I think we're going to get the same Aaron Nola that we got last year.
So you say he's more of a 3 than a 2. So who do you move up? Are you saying on this current rotation, or would they have to pull somebody in to bring that number?
On this staff, I firmly believe, and I said this all offseason, that I was disappointed that the Phillies didn't upgrade their rotation. I see what the Braves did, and they brought in Chris Sale. They really didn't give up. They gave up a good prospect for him, but they didn't give up a top prospect for him. And it's a little bit of a gamble. He's coming off of major injuries, and he really hasn't been healthy for a couple of years, but his velocity's back up. He gives you some upside. I just don't know where the upside in a potential rotation piece comes from other than a trade. Because the rotation itself, a lot of people will say, well, look at the rotation as a whole, all 5. It's got good depth. It's a good 5-man rotation. I just don't like the top of it outside of Wheeler. I don't like Nola at number 2. I think you need a better number 2, and Nola just at this point isn't that guy.
I agree with you. Based off of his history, he has been very inconsistent. So I don't think that you're wrong in saying that. And I do think most of this fan base is pretty upset that we didn't see them get anybody. I think we were all waiting for that big
Blake
move.
Snell.
Blake Snell would have been that huge one. I don't know if people actually thought that was realistic, but that's who people wanted for sure.
How about Spencer Turnbull? That's one guy we're not talking about. Spencer Turnbull throws a nice game for us last night and the night before. Christopher Sanchez, he looked pretty good. Those are two guys that you're not really expecting much from, but I do have an idea here. You know how the Philly, we got our certain words, our slang, John, Bull, yo, that young Bull.
Yeah,
we need to do like Randy Wolfpack up in right field with the Fandemic crew. We got to get
Bull outfits,
the Spencer Turnbulls, the Bulls, and everybody dressed like young Bulls and bring the young Bull.
It's a shame he's not coming out of the pen
with that. He might.
Maybe.
He might.
If we do get somebody, maybe he would.
We need the Bulls. We need to get the Bulls together.
To your point, early in the season when there's going to be more seats are available as well, if we're going to try to make a statement like this and start this club, it's probably a good idea to do it early rather than later, because anything could happen. He could be not good and lose a spot in the rotation. But to your point, if you look at who pitched last night for the Phillies, Spencer Turnbull and Pinto, who hasn't been in the majors since 2019. He was pitching in the Mexican League last year. So, I mean, just how we drew it up.
That's the beauty of baseball.
Get a win last night, yes.
You're going to see something you probably have never seen before almost every single game you go to, and you may not see it again. I don't think we're ever going to see a guy maybe in the Phillies uniform show up in the fourth inning, come in the dugout, say, hey, what's going on, Topper, and then run out to the bullpen and then come in and throw 4 shutout innings. I mean, that's unbelievable. It didn't not shutout innings, but get the four inning save. I mean, that's truly legendary stuff.
To start this season, they haven't looked so hot like we mentioned. How concerned are you guys with that? We've seen base running errors. We've seen just sloppy play. Not really that it's his fault, but Bryce even going over the fence and he already had a stiff back. That's not something you want to see. So are you guys concerned with the start that we've seen so far?
I'm not. Bryce is, I mean, it's how he's going to play. And I don't know if we give other players in this town the excuses that we give Bryce Harper. I know I do. He's already on a 13-year contract and he wants an extension. And I'm like, yeah, give him an extension. Sounds good to me. I don't know who else I'd do that with.
Make him part owner.
But I mean, if they could, they probably would. But when you look at Bryce Harper, to your point, Sam, keeping him healthy. And I thought bringing him in from the outfield and putting him at first base would lessen the chances of him getting injured. And then he goes flying over the railing and he hurts himself. But man, he's one violent swing away from hurting his back or tweaking his back or whatever. So I really just think you have to kind of hold your breath and just hope that he's okay. They have Derek Hall down in the minors that can come in up and play first base in case something happened to him. And you can let him play DH, right? You can let Bryce play DH a little bit as well. But yeah, I mean, as the Phillies go, as Bryce Harper goes, the Phillies go, and they've been pretty good the last couple of years when he's been out in playing well without him in the lineup. But you got to keep him healthy. He really is, like he showed last night. He can carry this team. When he's hot, he carries the team.
100%, especially in those mid-season June days where everybody just wants to get lackadaisical. It's definitely Bryce that picks them up and keeps them going. Maniac, I know you were furious with Johan Rojas's base running error the other night.
I mean, what does he do? Like what? I mean, I know he can catch fly balls and he's fast as all get out, but like, I don't. How much longer can they do this? I don't know. I guess somebody made the comparison this past week about comparing him to being the Carlos Ruiz of this team, because Ruiz was such a great backstop, a great defensive player, and that's kind of Rojas is the Ruiz of the Phillies this year. I'm not buying that because Ruiz could actually hit a little bit, and then not to mention, the other night getting picked off after you get put in to be a pinch runner. That's like the cardinal sin of cardinal sins in baseball. So I don't know. I think he's really pressing right now, and that's not a good situation you want to be in as a young player trying to, kind of rewrite the story from last year and to be making those mistakes like that can't happen. And that was a huge moment in the game.
Spot.
That was a huge moment in the game. First and second, nobody out, and you get picked off. Come on, man.
I followed Rojas as a minor leaguer, and he was always this guy that had a lot of potential, but outside of he had a really good year at Double-A. He didn't play a lot of high minor league baseball.
Right.
And we were talking about this yesterday. Sam had said they brought him up out of desperation, and he actually performed a lot better than they thought. So they left him in there. I remember in 93, the Phillies brought up Kevin Stocker because they literally couldn't find a shortstop that could field the ball.
Right.
Kevin Stocker wasn't a great prospect. He wasn't thought that he was going to be brought up and help the team. He fielded the ball. He didn't kill him at the plate. Rojas, that's what he did last year until the playoffs started. You can't have a hole in your lineup. I don't care if he's batting 11th in the lineup. You can't have a hole in the lineup where he's going up there and he's got no chance. And he just doesn't look like he's had a chance at the plate. So I would expect, and Pat, what you're saying about the base running mistakes, you can't have that. So if the defense is there and he's not making mistakes, he's got to show some kind of progress at the plate. And right now, I just see him going backwards.
And the problem is that now he's gotten in these big moments, and he's been an integral part of the team where he's had the play in the NLDS against the Braves. And like, it's almost like with a pitcher, when you bring a pitcher up, too early and they get shelled and then you send him back down to AAA, you could lose them. You could lose them altogether. I think if he ends up in Lehigh Valley, that could be trouble. So that's why they're trying to force it. But now he's pressing a little bit, and I think it's only a matter of time until you see Brandon Marsh as your everyday center fielder.
And I wouldn't be mad about that. I love Marshy.
And he can hit left and right-handed pitching. There's this thing about him that they say, they got to not play him against lefties, but I watched him on opening day absolutely
he hit the first home run.
Nuke a ball into left center field. So against the wind too, that was an impressive bomb.
I think there might still be some stigma around him because when we did get him from the Angels, he was known for his defense, and he wasn't or didn't have a good bat at all until he came in here with Kevin Long. So I think that's also a big factor for him, our hitting coach. But to your point, John, also with Rojas, Larry Boa once told me, he was like, Sam, because obviously I was not around when Larry Boa was playing, unfortunately. But he did mention, he was like, Sam, I was not the best shortstop that you would ever see. He was like, I was the hardest working. I would play with broken fingers because I knew I wasn't the best.
Right.
And in baseball, it is 90% luck. And if you end up getting injured and you take that week out and somebody comes in and gets hot, your spot's gone. So Rojas better be careful in that factor. Because like you mentioned, last year he did come up, he performed, and he won that spot, or that chance, I should say, to be able to prove himself. But he's not doing it right now.
Well, you mentioned Larry Boa not being the greatest shortstop. I have another concern.
Words don't come for me.
Not him saying, yeah. Fact.
Yeah.
So my big concern right now, truly, Trey Turner as the shortstop of this team. We saw him make a lot of errors last year. We are so spoiled to have had Jimmy Rollins play for so many years and make very difficult plays look easy. I mean, he was just truly unbelievable. And then to even follow that up with Freddie Galvis, who was a really, really good shortstop at one point. He couldn't hit his way out of a wet paper bag, but
he was great.
Freddie was great in the field. And now maybe that's what it is. Maybe I'm a little jaded, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see Trey Turner at some point or another make the transition to second base.
Yeah, we talked a lot about that last year. Also, one more thing on center field. Remember, Christian Pache is on this team.
Yeah.
And he's a right-handed bat, so you could very easily have a platoon of Marsh playing left and center, and Pache's going against the tough left-hander. So
yeah, and that was the discussion in the beginning of the spring, who was going to win that kind of platoon spot, either Pache or Rojas. And
he's on the roster for a reason.
Well, and it was kind of interesting just because Rojas didn't have the hottest bat in the spring, so it did look like Pache kind of won it. But there must be something that we didn't see, or something that the organization liked of Rojas, because they gave it to him.
I think they like his speed and his defense. What they want to do is they want to give him a chance. They want to give him a chance.
Yeah.
And they're not going to do it
way
after
too
5
early.
games. Yeah, they're not going to do it after 5 games. But if we're 20 games in, he doesn't have a hit this year. So like Bryce didn't have a hit till last night either. But if we're 20 games in and he's batting 110 and it's just a hole in the bottom of the lineup, they're gonna probably send him to AAA, and they're gonna have a combination of Pache and Marsh.
I like to call him an AO, automatic out. AO.
Oh.
Rojas.
Ayo.
He's batting in the AO spot, automatic
AO,
out
okay.
spot.
Before we wrap up this Phillies spot, guys, we're gonna normally have like a minor league spotlight because we are big farm system people. Unfortunately, we were gonna look at Mick Abel after a start yesterday. That game got postponed, so hopefully they get it in tonight. Mick Abel is obviously somebody that's very sought after in this farm system and could help this rotation later in the year.
Well, Taijuan Walker, there's a name we didn't talk about at all, too. I mean,
right.
that's probably why you're going to maybe get to see Mick is if Taijuan isn't healthy or doesn't come back, looking like the Taijuan from the Mets a few years ago, which is, I mean, I have no idea what to make of him. So I would like to see Mick. And when are we going to see Andrew Painter? He's out for the whole year.
Next
right?
year.
Next year. So we have a whole year to wait for him.
I don't even know. Will he be back spring 2025?
Yeah.
Or
think so.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't even think they're at this point. I don't even think they're trying to push him back this year, which is a shame. When I was talking about upside, who could potentially be the number 2, there's not anybody on the staff. Painter could be right in a short term, especially he gets hot. He could have been that guy. And I feel like the Phillies thought he was.
I was going to say maybe that's why they didn't make the move, because they know they have Abel right there. They know they have Painter in a year. So that could be why, if Snell wanted a longer type contract or a few years, or who knows who they were discussing with.
Jordan Montgomery.
Yeah.
And they also made a play for the Japanese. Is it
Yamamoto?
Yamamoto. They made a play for him.
Thank God they didn't get him, because he's been getting shelled.
He's
been getting shelled.
He's coming up stylish though. You see him with that Chanel bag or whatever. It's like $7,500.
He looks good. Yeah, he made a lot of money.
That's what they say. Look good, feel good, play good. But that ain't adding up right yet for him. But okay, we'll see.
Speaking around the league, City Connect jerseys get debuted on Friday. Phillies got leaked. And have you guys seen them? I have them right here on my phone. We'll put them in.
I've seen them. You don't like them.
Wasn't what I expect.
I absolutely
not what you expected.
No,
hate the blue and yellow, guys. I hated the Eagles blue and yellow throwbacks. I hate the blue and yellow. This has like Percy Jackson font. You know that, like Percy the lightning font. Yeah, I hate these jerseys so much. Am I the only one? You guys
they look like the Union almost. They remind me of the Philadelphia Union.
They do look like Union.
My reaction was, is that a Union inspired jersey? Like, so here's where I go when I see any of these jerseys. Like, what is the person thinking when it's like, all right, this is what I want to do? Like, what was the initial thought of this is what we want to do? Because like, I like some of the Sixers jerseys that they come out with or whatever, but like my initial reaction was, what the hell's that? Like, why is that the jersey? I don't know. I'm not running out to get
brother. What is that, brother?
I'm not running out to get one.
Yeah, I'm not running out to get one of those either. But I want to see what the hats look like. That's one thing that has not leaked yet, is what the hats will be like.
I'm more of a
that might set the tone. That might set the whole ensemble off. You never know. We got to see the hats and the pants. What are the pants going to look like? We got to see the whole. Let's not judge it quite yet. But yeah, it is off to a kind of rocky
start.
What
does it look like on the field in action as opposed to just the leak shot?
Yeah.
We saw fair point, Maniac Malloy.
We just got to plug them in a little bit more.
Well, they're all the way over there.
The one, Sam.
Yours. Well, yeah,
but moving on to MLB, so there have been some teams that have come out to a hot start. And surprisingly, the other side of the state, Pittsburgh, they came out to a hot start last year as well. So we'll see how it goes. Yeah. But yeah, looking really good. And I'm actually shocked. Pat always makes fun of me because I love O'Neal Cruz, because he was the original. He was the original Ellie De La Cruz.
I like the guy.
He got injured last year, but he is beefing up.
Yeah, he can hit. He can hit bombs.
He's always been able to hit, but is he going to stay a shortstop? We were talking about shortstops earlier. How do you stay that big? He's like 6'6", and now he's gained. He's gained a.
Yeah, where are you going to play? Outfield? You're going to do the Tatis move, move in the right field. Third.
Well, I thought Bohm was going to be too big to play third. Generally, you don't get 6'5" third baseman where they're functional over there, and he's actually worked really hard. His defense has improved.
He's real good,
but he stands out. He is massive. I think he's
the same height as those two guys. I think they're both 6'5", right?
Yeah. So what does he look like when he's 30?
Yeah. What does he look like when he's 30? That's true, but I don't know.
Your audio's still live.
Oh well, we're live.
Yeah, we're
live.
Well, listen, because we're available on all podcast forms.
Yeah, you'll be able to listen to this one.
So wherever you get your podcasts, you're able to do it. But
You just can't see our pretty faces, unfortunately, for the moment.
Well,
But
listen, and I've always been told that I don't have a face for radio, so it's nice to actually be in front of the camera. Sam, you as well. I mean, we're and I mean, most handsome guy here.
yeah,
The
Maniac,
best looking mullet.
the flow for the TV.
I mean, did I wear the perfect shirt though for today?
You did. And
The
maybe
perfect
that's
shirt.
something we didn't talk about with Bryce Harper, too. Maybe he did have that umph because he was lit up about Joel Embiid coming back. You never know.
I think he was also lit up about striking out with
Yeah.
chance to tie the game the
Yeah.
night before. I think he was good and pissed off. And they better run and hide for the next couple
He
weeks, because if
is-
he's on, baby.
It's so he's odd as a baseball player because he's constantly tinkering with his stance and everything that he does.
Yeah.
But once he gets in that comfort zone, look out.
Yeah.
That's what we saw last night.
Look out.
100%. So we were talking MLB. Is there anything that's really stuck out to you guys that you want to hit on?
For me, I mean, I've been watching late night the Dodgers play. I've been watching this team, and I've been tuning into the Yankees a little bit. They were on ESPN. Man, both of those teams, they look. I mean, that Dodgers lineup, Teoscar Hernandez, he's like a whole new player getting out of Seattle. He looks unbelievable. Mookie Betts leading the league in home runs and walks. Freddie Freeman.
Roster, and it's like, well, how could you possibly lose? It's like when the Phillies had the aces. Like, well, how can you not win the World
Right.
Series with that starting staff? And then you realize like everybody goes cold at once, or like guys aren't necessarily happy in their role because you have too many sluggers. But it's a scary team, man.
And the same with the Yankees too. Soto, they add Verdugo, Judge, Giancarlo, and then the young guys that they got
Volpe.
too. Volpe, Oswaldo Cabrera, like all those guys, they've got a real potent lineup,
Soto-
and pitching will be their thing.
Soto is in much like Judge a couple years ago. He's in a walk year,
Yeah,
and he could do some real damage. You saw what Judge did in a walk year.
yeah,
couple
and it's
years
only
ago.
312 down the line in Yankee Stadium for him. He's just gonna yank, and they're gonna go.
Well, that's one thing we talked about a little bit yesterday, just with the Phillies opening against the Braves. The Braves are obviously one of the elite teams, and we just mentioned some of the other ones. And that's something that is going to be different for this Phillies team. The years past, it didn't matter if we won the division because it worked out for us. We ended up playing the right teams. We beat the Braves. But this year, you got to be kind of cognizant, like really cognizant of it, because of the fact that you don't have to just worry about the Braves in the National League. You have to worry about the Dodgers again because they are huge obstacle that you're going to have to beat.
Yeah, you got to almost hope for that trend to continue, where you get the week off with the wild card teams, and then I mean, there's something
They're
about
cold. They're
taking a week off
Mhm.
that could help. And I hate to think that way, because like yesterday I was telling you, I mean, the expectation I think for the Phillies should be to win the division, to try to win the division. John, I know you disagree with me, and you know it's not realistic to think that you can compete with the Braves, but why not? I mean, we've gone further than in the playoffs the last 2 years. We've seemingly can beat them in a series when it really matters. Let's just do that in the regular season.
I'm not telling you that shouldn't be the expectation. Of course, that's what you're going for, right? I'm just talking about from my perspective. I don't think the Phillies are as good of a team as the Braves. So I'm not looking for them to win 98, 97, 96 games. However, and I know they don't play the division teams as much as they once did, but if you look at the other teams in the division, the Mets are winless, Miami's winless, and I think the Nats have one win.
Yeah.
So you could really beat up on your own division to where in previous years, and it's still early, so we'll see what happens with the Marlins, but they struggled against Miami. You know, like the Nationals, they for the most part have beat up on, and the Mets at least were formidable. But now that they've taken a step back, the division doesn't look as hot as it once did, and that could help the Phillies pile up these wins that you're talking about.
Yeah, we need them. We need to pile up the wins in the NL East.
And talking about that, we do have 3 games coming up this weekend. at the Nationals. So that'll be something. Hopefully it's a booster and gets them back to 500 potentially. We'll see if they get the game in today. Got moved to 405 instead of 105, so kind of threw us a little.
Yes, we were expecting to be kind of leading into the game.
Yeah. I was all really, really excited. Had to dial it down a little bit and save my energy for 4 o'clock now.
And so now Out of the Parks with Jon Marks.
That's the name of the pod. That's the name of the pod, the name of the show. John, it's time to go Out of the Parks with Jon Marks, where each show, John is going to pick a Philly to hit a home run in the upcoming weekend series. This weekend, like Sam said, we're going to Nationals Park. It's the Phillies. It's the Nationals. John, who's hitting a home run for the Phillies this weekend?
We got a few former Nats. Might come into play.
Yeah. You could pick the other team. You could pick. Let's get creative with this, but you might have one right off the bat here, I'm sure.
Well, I do, and it would be easy to pick Bryce Harper to hit a home run as he did 3 last night, and also Kyle Schwarber. I'm bullish on Alec Boehm, and I think you're gonna get pretty nice numbers if you're looking for Boehm to go deep. So if you're looking for one of these, like, all right, I want to go Harper, I don't want to go Schwarber because the numbers aren't as good. Alec Boehm really impressed me last year. And if you look at what he did coming off of the, coming off of that era where he had, get me the bleep out of here, whatever, like in a city like Philadelphia, sometimes it can be impossible to recover from that. He handled it well. He owned it. He didn't act like he didn't say it, but he turned into a really clutch and excellent player last year. So is the power going to eventually come? Yeah, I think it's going to come a little bit. He's never going to be a 35 home run guy, but I think he's got sneaky power, and you might see a little bit more of it this year. So to answer your question, Alec Boehm, Out of the Parks with Jon Marks. Bam!
Your first one. Let's make the first one a one-shot, one-kill, John. I really like that. I like Alec Boehm for a home run, especially against the Nats. And you mentioned he doesn't hit a lot of home runs. My dad always said the third baseman on the baseball team, your third baseman on the Phillies, you got to hit home runs. That's one thing. So I would like to see him get off to an early start and start hitting some dingers here, because the third baseman, man, you got to hit. You got to have some power. You got to have some power. He's really good for the dying quail or the banjo shot, which I like, and he doesn't strike out too much, but we need to get those power numbers up. Those are rookie numbers. Let's get those numbers up, Alec. Start this weekend for Johnny, please.
I tried to kind of throw the lob up for what I thought. I said former Nats we got on this team. You got Harper and Schwarber, like you mentioned, but Trey Turner. Let's go with Trey Turner.
Let's go Trey Turner.
Light it up. We saw last year. He just needed that extra motivation and know the city was behind him. So maybe.
So Sam's going with Trey Turner. So I gotta give one.
I don't know if we were actually supposed to. I
like Trey Turner.
Yeah. I like Trey Turner. He's got power, man. That guy swings so hard. He swings insanely hard. If he runs into one, left center, boom, gone.
And he doesn't look like a guy that should be hitting as many home runs as he does, just when you look at him at bat. But to your point, he generates a lot of power with that bat speed.
Bat speed is insane.
My dad always said mechanics. You don't have to look the part if you have the right mechanics.
That's true.
And from a right-handed hitter, it's normally the lefty is who you see with it's a smooth swing, and they're able to just kind of knock it over the right field wall. But Trey Turner does it from the other side, which is interesting.
I'm going with Brandon Marsh. Marshman.
Get 2 on the season.
I like him. He looks like he's swinging a nice bat. Made some nice contact last night. And let's go Brandon Marsh. Awesome. We're going to bet him every game of the series against the Nats to hit a home run. So that's my pick.
I like it. Just a reminder for everybody listening, we do have a 25% live profit boost every single Wednesday.
Live profit boost.
Really?
Yes,
There's a full slate. There's a full slate of games too today and tonight. So what you do is with that one is wait for the game to start. Well, maybe you watch an inning or two, you get your bearings, and you pick who you like, and then you throw a 25% live profit boost on any of the games on Wednesday. We're going to be running that one all season long. We got the Royals, Orioles, Angels, Marlins, Minnesota Twins, and the Brewers. For my 25% live profit boost, I'm just going to throw this one out there. Let me get the Minnesota Twins today. They are going to have a 1:10 p.m. start. Chris Paddack coming off an injury. He's going to have a nice bounce back year. I really believe Chris Paddack is going to have a really nice year for the Twins. They got him on a real steal of a contract. I think that they're going to get the Brewers today. So watch the first inning or two, maybe even the first pitch. Jump right on it. Currently, the Twins are -114 on the BetParx app. Let's go Twinnies, and let's go Chris Praddock. I'm going to throw a live profit boost on that bad boy. So that's for all you gamblers out there.
Just to emphasize, you have to place that during the game.
During the game.
Yeah,
During the
emphasis
game.
on
Live profit boost. That's why they call it a live
And
one.
guys, tell me about this Marks and Maniac happy hour that we got going on.
Yeah,
What is
so we
this?
got something else to look forward to every Friday, John.
Yes.
I'm springing this one on you today. I was talking to the guys in the sports department last night. How could we, get John involved in making up a special? So every Friday during happy hour, which is happy hour 4 to 6, you're going to be able to log on to the BetParx app, and you're going to be able to place a bet on something that me and John are going to collaborate on each Friday. It could be a no-run first inning. It could be a strikeout combination. It could be a parlay. It could be a run line parlay. Whatever you want, we'll get our minds together. The Marks and Maniac money line parlay, maybe that's what we're going to call it. We'll see. So check back in with us on social media on Friday. We'll have a play for you on the BetParx app. You'll log into the app, and it'll be one of the tiles right when you log in and you go to the sportsbook side of the app. You'll see that tile. Click on that one, and we're going to put a boost on it. So, if the odds are +150, maybe you get it for +200. So
that's
it's a nice one to follow all season long, and we'll see how we do with that as well. We're going to keep track of how the Phillies do on the days we record. They're already 1-0 since the announcement of the show. Just saying. And we will also keep track of our earnings.
Added pressure.
Yeah.
I mean, we're messing with people's money here.
Yeah.
Maniac Malloy.
I guess you just
I'm up for it.
Just do Dodgers money line, and whoever the A's are playing against, take them. So
I was actually looking at the White Sox today are +300 against the Braves. What's the first inning of that game? Who knows?
Yeah,
that's the thing.
In Chicago.
Okay.
And I'm sure once
Strider going.
Ooh, Spencer Strider. A lot of fastballs.
-375 in some spots.
Hey, maybe Luis Robert. He runs into one and hits it deep, and then you get a 1-0 lead. Or you see them go down 1-2-3 in the first inning. That +385 is going to be about +500. So that might be something to look at for a little bit of value. I like where your head's at there, Johnny Marks.
I like it. So before we wrap up, guys, we have a few questions. So from Kevin Bloomfield, what bet are you guys taking for the Phillies game later today against the Reds, assuming that they get it in?
Phillies Reds, assuming that they get it in 4:00. Man,
Wheeler on the mound, right?
Wheeler's, the one -177 on the Phillies.
I'm going Phillies.
I mean, obviously going Phillies with Wheeler if they get this one in. -177. I mean, it's going to be rare that you're going to get Wheeler at anything under -200 throughout the season. The run line, now you look at that, -1.5 is +125. If you're really feeling frisky, maybe you lay the 1.5 runs and you hope Wheeler throws a gem, and maybe we have a couple bombs and the Phillies get the bats going finally. I like that bet as well, but I think a real safe one would be Phillies money line -177 only on the bet.
Over on strikeouts.
Ooh.
Those are the ones I kind of like to look at. I'm trying to look it up right now as
cold, rainy day. Wheeler's been
pitcher props right here. So we have
pitching
Wheeler. Let's see.
Over 7.5 is +100.
Ooh, that's a lot.
That's a lot. That's a lot. It's a lot of strikeouts.
Yeah.
Jonathan India doesn't strike out, but you know what? Ellie De La Cruz, man, he has looked pretty bad. He's looked bad at the plate. He might account for 2 or 3 of them just alone today. So that
Reds got their win in the series. It's cold. It's wet. They want to get the hell out of town. They're ready to leave. Take the Phillies. Take the over on the strikeouts.
little parlay, little same
parlay,
little same game parlay.
Parlay.
Over on strikeouts for Wheeler, Phillies to win the ball game. That's our
confidence.
Bet.
There you go.
Done.
Now, who is the biggest X factor this season between Marsh, Bohm, and Stott? Me personally, X factor.
We know who John's gonna say. He loves Alec Bohm.
And I think it also depends because how much of an X factor can Marsh be if he's platooning? So I think that kind of might eliminate him from this conversation for me.
That was going to give him that kind of, you kind of almost walked right into my answer there. I think the X factor is going to be Marsh because I do not believe in Rojas. And I think that if this experiment that's going on blows up in our faces, you're going to need Marsh to kind of step up. I know we have Pache and maybe Pache and him can platoon, but I still don't get it. The guy hits home runs off of left-handers. I've seen him do it. He can hit left-handed pitching. I don't know why they're babying this guy so much. I think that he could just be your everyday center fielder. No, he's not as good defensively, but man, like he's, what is he, 26 years old? Like that guy could be the center fielder for the next 7 years or so, or six, 7 years. I mean, I like him. I like Marsh. I think if he can step up, then we don't have to worry about this Rojas baloney.
Well, I guess you have to look at it and say, what do you expect from Stott and from Alec Boehm? I feel like I know what I'm getting with Boehm. Maybe 280. He had almost 100 RBIs last year, had 20 home runs. So he's going to be a quality hitter. Stott feels like, and this, I'll answer the question for you, Stott, is this the year where he takes that step into being a Chase Utley type, to where he's now becomes an all-star second baseman, where he becomes such a major, when he's on, man, he makes this lineup go. And it's also towards the bottom of the lineup. And I know like they like him back there with Alec Boehm. They're kind of the vehicle for the bottom of that lineup. But I feel like this could be the year for Stott where he takes that step to where he becomes an all-star player instead of just a very good starter.
John, I agree with you 100%. My answer is Bryson Stott, because we did see him become such a big asset in those playoffs last year. So if he can carry that over and just continue to grow, which he is, because he's mentored by Bryce Harper very, very closely. So I think Stott's going to really take that leap this year. I think he's going to be a huge asset to this team. And we mentioned Trey Turner. If he's having some trouble at shortstop, maybe they flip him there, and maybe Stott's able to just seamlessly fit wherever he needs to. So I think that's going to be a big piece. And I think Bryson Stott's going to have a big season.
Stott's in the same. Stott's almost in the same boat as Marsh.
Yeah.
They're platooning him too with Whit Merrifield. I mean, like last year or 2 years ago, I remember somebody's telling me, "Oh, they don't do there's no such thing as platooning anymore in the major leagues." It seems like a lot of teams are doing it.
Yeah,
it seems like it's like a really big deal. It's like the '93 team with the platoons. And yeah, I mean, I guess eventually, like when you got to ante up the dough to Stott, or you got to ante up the dough to Marsh, you're not going to back up the Brinks truck and make them a platoon player. So when are the training wheels going to come off? I don't know. I that's another one with the signing of Whit Merrifield. You've already seen him kind of spell Stott a few times. I don't know. Well, that's going to be something to keep an eye on in terms of how these guys do against left-handed pitching.
And real quick,
let them go.
Lastly, who is the biggest X factor between Soto, Sir Anthony, and Hoffman? Pat, you go first because we know your answer.
Soto. It's absolutely Greg Soto. I love Gregory Soto. I don't care what you say about the guy. I'm going to defend the guy to the death. He throws 100 miles an hour. He's got filthy stuff. Put him in the 8th inning. Give him his role until he blows up entirely. Let this man pitch. He was a closer for years in the AL Central for the Tigers, and he was very, very good. You gave him a lot of money, a shit pot full of money. Let him pitch, and hopefully he can kind of solidify himself as that setup, maybe even the closer role. I don't think that's going to happen. Alvarado probably, but give me Soto as the X.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, yeah, if he becomes a dynamic closer, back end of the bullpen guy, it's huge. But I'll just say Sir Anthony because he scares the hell out of me.
Yeah.
Last year in the playoffs, when they brought in Kerkering, I was so happy they brought in Kerkering as opposed to Sir Anthony, and then Kerkering couldn't throw a strike and cost them the game. But that's how I felt about Sir Anthony at that time. And like, I don't know if he's going to get that back this year. When you get sometimes with pitchers, you just never get it back. Hoffman also went from being, they got him for nothing, former first round pick that had obviously has upside, and he was awesome last year. Is he going to be good again this year? Or does he fall back in the what? I mean, I have the most confidence in Hoffman.
Yeah,
okay.
I would say that too. I will agree with you there.
And
confidence, but the X factor.
Yeah, it's Sir Anthony for me.
I agree. I think Sir Anthony, just because we need him to be back to elite Sir Anthony. We know what he can be, and we've seen glimpses of it, but we just don't see the consistency there. And that
changes the bullpen. He changes the bullpen. He can pitch anywhere. But if he's not that guy, you have a huge hole missing in the bullpen. They need him to be that guy.
I agree 100%. So guys, That is episode number 1 of Out of the Parks
Wow.
with Jon Marks, and then Sam and Maniac on the side over here. But we will be back
Good job,
every
Sam.
single Wednesday to talk Phillies, to talk MLB, give our picks, and just have a good time.
Have a good old time.
Yep.
Yep.
Let's go,
And
Phil.
send me your Phillies mullets. I've already been getting a couple after we saw Maniac Malloy's yesterday. People, so if you have a mullet or you want to make a mullet and
I'll
send
have
it
this
to us,
thing
and we'll play it on the
shaped
show. Play it on the show. We
Yeah,
have
we can rate the mullets on the
producers.
TVs. Yeah, we can rate the mullets.
Oh,
on
I
the
love
TVs.
that idea.
I'm gonna get this thing shaped up. I'm gonna get my ears lowered a little bit.
Pat, give it a
next
little wiggle for the camera.
week. Ooh, a little wiggle lip.
Yeah.
Wiggle
you
lip.
do that so naturally.
Yeah.
This
Thin
comes
hair,
natural.
straight hair.
Awesome. Okay. So great first episode, guys, and we'll see you
Yes.
guys next week.
All right, we'll talk to you then.
Later.